This discussed in Council in September last year, and it was agreed at that time that a review would be taking place by officers, and it would come back to full Council. This is when it is now coming back to full Council, and the paper effectively is the review and tells you the case for closure, the financial analysis and the alternative options as identified all within it. As a brief overview, the Opportunities Centre, which started up in 2003, I think it was, when there were significant changes around Camp Hill regeneration and all of that, and there was a real need, and this Opportunity Centre really delivered exactly what was needed at the time for those people who needed to find an alternative source of skills training and education. Fundamentally, the marketplace at that time did not provide what we have or what we developed with the Opportunity Centre. We are now some 12 years on, and the market has changed. The wider provision is out there. There are alternatives, and we have some 16 students left in the Opportunity Centre who are using this for part-time courses. So they sit alongside the courses that they are doing for curriculum studies elsewhere, and so this is a part-time operation. We have 3 members of staff still in there, which is the manager, the caretaker, and 1 other member of staff. We are at all times having an opportunity to seek to redeploy them and find places for them within our services, and they are good staff. They can provide that. What I think we need to do is consider whether we are serving these young people well, whether they are getting the best opportunities they can, whether in fact their opportunities are not being served well, being restricted, and whether actually the cost per head of student is actually fundamentally not investing in the best opportunities that these young people could achieve in different environments. Every one of these young people can find a course that will fit their needs elsewhere. So the case for closure, I believe, is made, and we are asking Council to look at this review and to make comments.
Thank you very much. You a seconder?
I will second that, Mr. Chairman, and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Councillor Kondaka. Sorry, are there any amendments? I'm sorry about that. Are there any amendments? Councillor Kondaka.
Interesting words, opportunities and markets. In a market, everyone has to be able to access a market. And the big thing about people who haven't got the opportunity to work because they haven't got the training is they quite often don't have a car, they quite often can't afford the bus fares, and the list of alternative service providers in option Appendix B is remarkable. Stratford upon Avon College, if you actually want to get from Nuneaton Camp Hill to Stratford upon Avon College, it's 3.5 hours on a bus sometimes. So you're looking at setting off at 6:30 in the morning to get there for 10. Camp Hill needs its opportunities. It's a job half done. It needs this to continue in some form. And we talk about lots of times of reinvesting in communities, whereas in Camp Hill, we're just ripping things out of Camp Hill. As we've started to recover Camp Hill, it's getting better. We can now withdraw all support. I'm absolutely appalled at what we've done to the Opportunity Centre and the fact we've let it rot for a year, having less and less people attending and not having a vision for the future. Who's going to sign up to an Opportunity Centre if it's down for closure? This is dragged on, and we should have actually found a way to give a new life under maybe a new form of funding, but actually what we've done is we've let it die for a year, and it's really appalling, and actually the council should be ashamed of what's happening, because Camp Hill has actually been regenerated in half, and we need to do the other half.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jenny St John.
Thank you, Chair, and can I congratulate both of you on your appointment today. I did ask at the first time when this came to Council if there had been an equalities impact assessment. I have now seen that, and it does say that the closure will impact negatively on disadvantaged young people and people with disabilities. And I feel, that these young people may not actually find it easy to access mainstream education, and that therefore we're really doing them a disservice by closing this Opportunities Centre. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davis.
Yeah, thank you. The report, to me, had no surprises, and it simply advises closure of the centre as it did before. And I feel it's just a reiteration of the previous report, and that's not really what I was told would happen. The report was supposed to take into account the social value and the impact on the area and include a costing for that. It does not. It does not include any of the views of the users of the service, neither the schools nor the students. And I think, as Keith just pointed out, there's still widespread deprivation in Camp Hill. Many of the young people that use this service have got disabilities, and to suggest that they can simply move somewhere else is incorrect. Again, I looked at the Ilkeston one, and even if you went directly in a car, it would take you an hour and a half. So if you were to use any other form of transport, it just wouldn't be a viable option. Not all year groups also are catered for, so that would also make it difficult. I think it also says in the report that staff at the Opportunities Centre were not always appropriately qualified, but in actual fact they could have provided the maths and English lessons, and those that have been forced to leave are actually doing that elsewhere. The Two Wheels programme has been forced to the fire station now as a venue. The fire station's not driving standards agency registered. The Opportunities Centre is. It's not floodlit. The Opportunities Centre is. And the fire station have had to make investments in tools and equipment that the Opportunities Centre already has. So clearly this course, like lots of others, could have remained at the Opportunities Centre. And I feel the same way that, since last July, a lot of the users have simply lost confidence in the centre, knowing it was under threat and have sought courses elsewhere, but would have remained there had they have felt more confident in it. Also, schools have expressed that they would be interested in increasing the amount of time that young people go there. And actually, the report does recognise that the county could charge more for this, that the Opportunity Centre weren't charging in line with other centres, so they could actually charge more for it. And also it recognises that there's a shortage of this kind of education in the area, so to close it really doesn't make sense. Also, one of the main issues of the report seemed to be the property. I've sort of spoke to the manager there, and no full investigation has been done into what repairs actually need doing. But at the same time, alternative premises could have been looked at. So I think the report highlights the shortage of this sort of education. Many young people thrive here because it's small and because they get, individual attention. A lot of them have very complex issues which just wouldn't fit into a large establishment like North Warwickshire College. Also, I have to add that nowhere in the budget did it state that this saving had to be made from the Opportunities Centre alone. It said from the Opportunities Centre and Pride in Camp Hill. But that choice has been made just to cut the Opportunities Centre, which I feel is wrong. So, I just, with this in mind, urge you all to vote against the closure of this centre and to look for an alternative way, an alternative premise to run it from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ulmer.
Thank you, Chairman, and my apologies first for being the first one to speak and not congratulate you, so I'll do it relatedly. But I want you to cast your minds back, quite frankly, to a meeting in this chamber. I don't know whether it was the last meeting or the meeting before, but every single councillor in this chamber expressed their pride in what was happening at the Opportunity Centre, where everyone in this chamber said this is a marvellous establishment. The service it does is marvellous, giving young people assistance in making their way in the world, hopefully one of these days. And it's not just about Camp Hill. Not just for people in Camp Hill, it's for people in the wider area. And quite frankly, the real criminal act in this I think somebody's given this report a steer to come up with the answers and recommendations that are there. They haven't taken into account, I don't think, the will of this council chamber on wanting to keep those opportunities open for young people in Nuneaton. I'm not bothered about the building. You know, it's the service that this council, in this recommendation, are cutting out. And that, I think, is criminal, that these young people have been completely and totally abandoned by this council in putting this forward for closure. And I certainly would hope that people sitting on that side of the chamber will examine their consciences and know and feel what they're taking away from disadvantaged young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chadway.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This has been a pretty long road to get to this point today, hasn't it? I mean, when we originally opposed the closure of the Opportunities Centre, as Bill has rightly said, everybody was saying what a wonderful job they do, what a wonderful service they provide, and now we face today is that, well, it's not really that wonderful. It's met its needs. There's no need for education, skills and training in Camp Hill anymore, if you read 2.4. What says filled? The Opportunity Centre has fulfilled its original purpose. No, it has not. There is still a need for skills and education training in some of our most deprived areas of the county. There is still a gap between skills and education training in our most deprived areas of the county. There is no mention in this report what we're going to do to fill that gap. We'll talk long and hard, well, we need to find pathways here, we need to find pathways there, we need to tarmac here, tarmac there, but no, we don't know what we're going to do. We've got a bit of a plan what we're going to do, but there's still young people, you may not realise this, and I hate to use this word, who don't fit into the standard education box. You have to do something special for them. And to do something special sometimes costs you a financial burden, as it says in 3.1. And that's the point. Because the cost of not doing that now, looking after these young peoples now, it'll be a bigger financial burden further down the road, I can assure you. I spoke to a lady on Friday who thanked me about the different opportunity what was available for her son. Her son never fitted into that box. Her son was going off the rails. It turned him around. If you turn one child or one young person around a year, the investment in the Opportunity Centre is worth it. So I'd urge the council to rethink that. Think about what we're doing. Think about if we really want to change places and area decorations about like Camp Hill and other parts of the county, what are we going to do? We don't close a facility what's been helping them. Again, rethink council, keep this centre open, and let's hope we can actually do something about closing the skill gap in areas of deprivation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Doughty.
Thank you and congratulations. It's two bobs. Right. Okay, we talk about business case, and it says that the rent is $46,000 per annum, and there's also a spurious claim about the roof needs replacement within the next 6 to 24 months at an estimated cost of $335,000. Hasn't anybody looked at renegotiating the rent and to keep the centre open? Actually speaking to the landlord, explaining what's going on, seeing, you know, this is providing opportunities for people all there. And if we look at this, juxtaposition this with what's happening in Ulster, we're going to have to find 240,000. It says here quite clearly, the disposal on the open market won't achieve the cost of 240,000. The shortfall will be met from the Improving Customer Experience Capital Programme. And on top of that, at 6.2, it says that the running costs will be increased by 2,000 per annum. I just think it's not parity really, and it needs to be left open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tandy.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I was involved in what originally was known as the West Nuneaton Partnership, and that became Pride in Camp Hill, and then we had the advent of the Opportunities Centre. It is crass to even suggest that youngsters can travel to Derbyshire or even Stratford to get the same facility that they have been offered in Camp Hill. And to me, anyone who votes for this proposed closure should have that on their conscience. They will be taking away a facility that is still needed and could be rejuvenated if there was a will to do it. We still talk about, we might call it different names now, but we still talk about narrowing the gap. This will widen the gap even more than it's ever been before.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hayfield.
Right. With some trepidation do I stand up because I suspect we're not going to agree. One of the key planks of education, the Director of Education in this county, has been that every young person should achieve a positive destination when they leave school. And there is a great drive within the authority to achieve that. And we are going to get there if we can. So where does the Opportunities Centre fit into this? It's a very emotive subject. It's close to the heart of many of you. The question I ask, and I think the report answers, is in terms of our available resources in directing young people into positive destinations, is this the best use of that resources? And for me, the evidence is in the paper. I don't believe that this is any longer, it was once, I don't believe that any longer this is the most appropriate way, the most cost-effective way of delivering those positive destinations to the young people in the Nuneaton area. Now, I know we're not going to agree on that, but this is my take on it, and it doesn't, so whether we should be ashamed or whatever it is, no, I'm not. I am determined to try and press ahead. That every young child should achieve a positive destination on leaving school. It's how we do it, and where we do it, and where our limited resources can be put to the very best and most effective use.
Thank you very much. Councillor
Whitehouse. Can I just raise
Whitehouse?
a point of order on that comment, Chair? Perhaps Councillor Hayfield would like to tell us what happens in the interim to these young people.
I'm sure you can sometime. I don't want to do it now or outside the meeting. Councillor Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chair. A number of members have spoken very passionately on this issue, and one must clearly respect that and indeed the local knowledge on which it is based. I would like, however, to come back to the recommendation that's in front of us, which asks us to note the outcome of this review, and specifically then in paragraph 9.1, where it makes it absolutely clear that the outcome of the review will be considered by Cabinet. It is a Cabinet decision as to what to do with the Nuneaton Opportunities Centre. It is not the decision that this Council is taking today. That is absolutely clear. Now, we supported the original motion back in September because we believed it was clear that although this item was part of the savings plan, however explicitly or not it was defined, we thought the paper had come through prematurely and that there was time for the more detailed work to be done before a final decision was taken. And that was the reason for supporting the motion back in September. The work was done. I've heard comments as to how good or not good that work was, but it was done. And I note that the corporate board actually considered it in February. Now, I presume the delay between February and now is clearly something to do with a little thing called an election that's happened in between. that it's not been appropriate to bring it forward until now. And therefore, one of the objectives, I think, of the original timetable I think this council set has been missed, was that one way or another this item ought to be brought to a head before the end of the financial year, so that if the decision to go ahead was confirmed, the savings could be achieved in the current year. So it would be interesting to know what amendment to the savings plan arises from the delay. But just coming back to the main point, the report asks us to note the outcome. We've read the report. We see it as the basis now for the Cabinet to take the decision what it does with it. The Cabinet must take that decision. The Cabinet will be accountable for that decision. And that is the way this Council is organised. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, can I seek clarity on what Councillor Whitehouse has just said from the Leader? Is it her intention that a report now needs to go to Cabinet to actually close the Opportunities Centre, or can you do it under Leader's powers?
No, it goes to Cabinet.
Thank you.
Thank you, good sense. Thank you. We're on. Councillor Morris-Jones.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to express my disappointment and irritation at the inconsistency of some of the statements made today. Of course, I support training for people. Our company always prefers to engage skilled workers, and I'm well aware that Camp Hill, being in the worst 10% of the deprived areas in the entire nation, deserves all the help it can get for anybody aspiring to secure jobs. But my mind goes back some 10 or a dozen years ago to a time when the Labour Party were the dominant force in this authority, and the subject of Tuttle Hill Industrial Estate came up for discussion. Now, that was a fully fledged, large, modern industrial estate adjacent to Camp Hill. It was fully tenanted. One tenant, I recall, was a man specialising in industrial automation. There is no more important calling than that. And there were many other engineering companies as well, offering long-term, secure, skilled jobs. But a property developer wanted to knock down the estate so he could have access to his housing development, and so the party decided that they should overrule my objections and those of other Conservatives, and the estate was duly demolished to the ground, and it was used, I think, for a roadway and access to the housing estate. Some of us were extremely annoyed about this, and I recall the anger of those who'd been evicted against their will. Some of the machines I was asked to sell, they'd ended up overseas, and I was bitterly upset about that, to feel that skilled jobs had been lost. But they were. Now, I think I might say that Councillor Bill Olner, who's spoken very passionately today, was in those days in a position where he might have been able to exert some influence, which we couldn't exert, in order to preserve this industrial estate. But that didn't happen. So, Chairman, all I would like to say is, if we are passionately in favour of training people, let's do something even better. Not only train people, but protect their highly skilled industrial jobs, because that's what we need to do in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you, and congratulations again. I spent a very interesting afternoon with Councillor Hayfield yesterday, talking all about closing the gap. I have a document here that he presented us with, Education and Learning, championing better life chances for our most vulnerable learners. And I was very impressed with the work that he proposes to do in order to address this problem. Our disadvantaged people, young people in Warwickshire, are 33% behind the other young people that we've got in their attainment when they leave school. Nationally, it's only 27%. It's clearly something that we need to address. This facility is one of the ways that we can address that. And Councillor Hayfield is setting up a system for us to evaluate all the different things that are done across the county to find out what works best. It seems rather previous to me to be cutting this before that assessment has been completed. So he's dead right, I don't agree with him on this. I think what he's trying to do is going in the right direction. I can't see that this, at this time, certainly, is going in that direction. And I would urge people to support keeping this centre open. It does a lot of valuable work, not only for the people in Camp Hill, but for disadvantaged people all across the area. If you take the business plan at its face value, possibly you can make an argument for closing it. But does that take into account the hidden costs? For instance, the transport costs. It says in this report that children can go to Stratford. Now, I know that this authority used to provide transport to the south of the county from Nuneaton, so students could attend Stratford College. What has happened to it? It's not there anymore. What about the time that you're taking out of the education of those disadvantaged people in putting them in a car, on a bus, transporting them across the county or even out of county? Those sorts of costs, the social costs involved with that, are not taken into consideration in this report. And I think that is a real failing in our assessment of the situation. And I think they should be taken into consideration. So I would urge people to support keeping this centre open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just two more speakers. Councillor Johnson.
Thanks, Chair, and congratulations to both of you. Councillor Hayfield made some good points about helping all children to achieve positive destinations. But I'm sure he would agree that to do that for a wide range of abilities or disabilities and disadvantage, it's not appropriate that that always happens in school. Some of these young people are completely disaffected with school and they need some alternative methods of engaging them in continuing learning and achieving positive destinations. And I think we've all agreed in the past that this centre has done this and continues to do so. Councillor Whitehouse quite rightly reminded us that we're asked to note the report here and it will be a cabinet decision. I think our arguments that we've expressed on this side is that the report is inadequate in many respects and has not provided, certainly not provided, a demonstration that adequate alternative provision is available. As has already been mentioned, asking students like this, young people like this, as an alternative to go all the way to the south of the county or to the south of Derbyshire is not going to happen effectively. It may be a theoretical alternative. It's certainly not a practical one. And I think, a lot of good work has been done in Camp Hill. If you drive up there, you can see the physical regeneration has changed the character of the area remarkably in the last 10 years. But I think the social transformation is far from complete. And that's why we need the continuation of this facility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our final speaker, Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much, Chair, and again, congratulations to you both. I think a lot of the points have been made. I wanted to make the point and echo the concerns that have been made, especially after a membership development opportunity yesterday on closing the gap. Councillor Tandy said that it will be on those that vote in favour of closing this, it will be on them to know that they will be increasing that gap. these aren't children that are completely disadvantaged in the way that they're incapable of learning or incapable of achieving a positive outcome. But I don't see how the closing of this is actually giving them any route in which to achieve in life or to get closer to their peers and able to achieve an education that is worthy of a future and a productive future. So, like I said, I think it's a disgrace to see such a central part of a community being taken away, and the way it's going to further disadvantage the young people of that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've had 15 speakers, which I think is quite good, and I'll ask Councillor Coburn, who seconded the motion, to sum up.
Can I make a point of order, Mr. Chairman? I did indicate that I wanted to speak for the public record. Since you are not allowing me to speak, I just want to make it clear that it is your decision to curtail a very important debate today.
Yes, thank you very much. Noted and accepted. Councillor Coburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Opportunities Centre, I did go and visit the Opportunities Centre about 7 or 8 years ago, and I thought what a wonderful facility it was, really, because in an area that's got low educational grades, it was teaching a lot of people their practical skills. They had things like bricklaying, plastering, electrical works, and I thought what a wonderful facility it was. And I'm sure the 11 Labour councillors who stood up to speak in this debate will agree with me. But time has moved on. All these courses and services are being supplied by local providers. We've never said they've got to go to Derby or Stratford. I mean, where's that from? It's never been said. I've been assured that all those facilities are available locally. They've been taken up by further education, which is the reason why the student numbers has come down. As far as
Chair, another point of order then. Why is it in the report if it's untrue? The report is not adequate.
It may mention if it's not the only option. They don't have to go to Derby or Stratford to find that facilities. By the way, as just an aside, I find the fact that the sort of suggestion that we, as the administration, have gave us as a steer on how the report before us was given or was written is outrageous, and I would like to put that on record.
Yeah, on the point of order,
The reason I made that remark is that since we met as a council and asked for this review, it has steadily been run down on the orders from someone from this authority, and that's why people have left.
Thank you.
The lease for this building came to an end in November, and since then it's been on a sort of week-by-week basis until we can make a decision about it. The roof does need £400,000 spending on it, and it's owned by a private. It's got a private owner, so it's owned by a private owner. So we need to have to negotiate what to do about that. So, I just find that the report before you today is one which I think is very fair. I think that the services for these people that use the Opportunity Centre can be provided not too far away and very... well, that's good. So therefore, I would ask that this council notes the report and that it will go back to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Seham.
Thank you. There have been some important points made today. Some have been quite theatrically made, some have been very passionately made and with feeling. And I'd arguably say those are more valued than those that have been a little bit over-exaggerated. However, what I would just say is there are 16 young people at the Opportunity Centres. They are all on part-time courses. They all have education which is met elsewhere because the Opportunity Centre does not deliver the curriculum basics, and they are being met elsewhere. So they are going to 2 places, as it is now. 11 of the 16 will finish their course and qualify at the end of the summer. The timescale that we are talking about, any delay that was discussed, was based on the fact that the courses will continue. The Opportunity Centre will stay open till all of those have qualified. The 5 that are left, who are not not in a course that will seek qualification. Their choice will be found some destination elsewhere where they can continue this. We will work extremely closely with them, whether they are disabled, whether they are fully abled, whether they have special needs or what. We will work with them to find a course that will suit their needs and that will give them the best opportunity to fulfil a whole experience of actually fitting into society rather than just fitting into a very restricted place that is going to just deliver a limited amount of course for their opportunity for the future. Many of these children who have been in there now, and I have to say I do not know the number that are left within that 16, do not come from within Warwickshire, they come from Leicestershire. So when we're looking at different places to offer that, some of that is about where those people originate from. I think it is reasonable to say that if we have restricted amount of funds, which we know we have as an authority, if we have restricted amount of funds, we have to do the best we can to make those funds work well for the largest number of people that we can, but identifying that we can still meet the needs of about 5 people left within their area. So I urge you to be reasonable and to look at really what you're saying to these young people here. Are you giving them a lifestyle opportunity that actually confines their ambition? I would suggest that those who have spoken are, and I believe that we can give them some real opportunity in a wider world with peer groups who are going to help them to fit into society better. I move the report.
Thank you very much. We now move to the vote then. Those in favour of the recommendation, please show. It's me, so. What are you noting? And those against? The motion is carried, so the Cabinet will go ahead and note report and doubtless take into account your comments.
Carry on closing.